Joey Aguilar update. Tennessee football, Bo Carter, UCLA football, SEC football, Vols football, Nico. There's a lot in this video. Let's see what he's talking about.
Hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into this thing. All right, folks. UCLA was not sold on Joey. We're going to talk about whether there's any truth to that. Also, we're going to have a Bo Carter update. Nico spoke out, talked a little bit about his time at Tennessee, moving to UCLA, all of that. We're going to cover all those things. But let's get into this whole thing with UCLA and Joey and their concerns and why they supposedly moved on to Nico. It's a story on A to Z Sports by Zach Reagan. It says Joey Halzle, the offensive coordinator, pushed back on a negative narrative that Deshaun Foster, who is the head coach of UCLA, created about Joey Aguilar. And this was a story that came out on The Athletic by Bruce Feldman. Said part of the reason UCLA was eager to add Iamaleava despite having Aguilar on the roster was because Foster wasn't sold on Aguilar's film study habits. It said UCLA had brought in, of course, Appy State, Joey, last winter in hopes he could spark the offense, but halfway through the spring, Foster wasn't sold on his connection to the receivers and his film study habits. And Joey Halzle was asked Tuesday about his about that very thing, Aguilar's film study, and he said it's a much different picture. So Joey's been high-end at that since he's gotten here, ever since he got here in late May, said Halzle. He said he didn't start where everyone else was. He said he went back and did every single spring install that our entire team went through. He did that on his own in about 4 days, embraced it really well, and went out and walked through it all on the field at a high level. He's been going through summer ball the same exact way, so there hasn't been any fall off there. So what it sounds like Deshaun Foster wanted to justify his decision to pretty much do a 180. Look, he saw an opportunity to get a 5-star quarterback that they could never get, and he got him at half price. So,
and you know the thing about that, two things can be true, right? Joey Aguilar could have had poor film study habits by UCLA standards, and then he also could have learned his lesson and went to Tennessee with a renewed mind. Says that, hey, this is not going to be the reason I get ousted from this opportunity. So those two things can be true. I don't know which one is true. There's two different teams, two different takes. One's talking about why a quarterback left, and one is protecting their future starting quarterback. So both of those things can be true, though. They can absolutely be true at the same time. So which one is more accurate? I don't know. We're gonna see when the film rolls around. But yeah,
he couldn't resist. That's pretty much what happened, and he probably just came up with something to make it sound like, oh well, it wasn't that. It was just I had a little concern here, and we'll see. Look, we don't know how Joey's going to do, but that sounds like a little bit of nonsense to me. And Joey went on WVLT and discussed the countdown to the season.
How about the experts? Everyone's saying Tennessee is maybe middle of the SEC this year. Some are saying bottom half of the SEC. You're still getting to know everything. Mm-hmm. Is that a bunch of junk?
Yeah, it's all rat poison. When you get stuck in that stuff, you try to prove other people wrong. But the only thing that matters is the people in this building and this program, and we go out there and play for each other.
Yeah, there's Nick Saban's famous rat poison. That's actually the opposite, I think. I think it's a motivating factor. Rat poison for Nick Saban was when people lumped praise on a player or a team.
All that stuff you write about how good we are and all that stuff they hear on ESPN, it's like poison. You know what I mean? It's like taking poison, like rat poison.
Whereas we're getting disrespected left and right. Middle of the road, never make the playoff, can't replace Nico with a guy that's, played at Appy State, all of those things. We'll see. Let's hear what Greg McElroy has to say about Tennessee coming into this season.
Tennessee is one of those teams that's one of the biggest unknowns in the entire SEC. We don't know exactly what things are going to look like at quarterback. We think Joey Aguilar 2 years ago at Appalachian State had a really good year. Last year, it wasn't so good. Tried to do a little too much, took a few too many risks. Maybe he can now get back in a quarterback-friendly system to playing rock-solid football. I still think they're going to be great at running back, even though Dylan Sampson is gone. I still like what they have at wide receiver. I think they should be just fine there. I am also going to be curious to see how things work out along the front seven defensively. I think they're really good at linebacker, but there's some star power loss with James Pierce off to the NFL. I don't think that's a group, though, that's going to fall off a cliff. If they can adequately replace the pieces lost along the offensive line, and Joey Aguilar can look like he did in 23 as opposed to 24, this team will remain a problem in the Southeastern Conference.
As you can see,
do y'all think Tennessee will be the top, middle, bottom SEC? I don't know yet. You know, quarterback is a question mark. They even got Joey Aguilar as the worst rated quarterback in the SEC. I think I don't know about this. I know he's probably about to talk about it, but I'm cool with Nussmeier here. Boom, Lagway. I think Lagway Art. I think they're too high, to be honest with you. I think who is it? I mean, it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I think Talon Green should be, or Talon. I think Talon Green should be higher. I think John Mateer should be higher. Like, what are we talking about? I think Ty Simpson should be higher. But other than that, man, solid. You know, I think Archer's way too high. He improving. DJ Lagway, coming off an injury, he should be fine. But, you know, you never know. But I think Talon should be up in the top 5. I think John Mateer should be in the top 5. I think John Mateer could be 2 or 3. To be honest with you, I think Ty Simpson could be in that top 10 as well.
a lot of people have Joey all the way down to number 16 as far as SEC quarterbacks, which is the very bottom. So again, the motivating factor for this guy's got to be through the roof and for this team. And I would guess what Tennessee's probably going to do is circle the wagons. And you've seen a little bit of that with this player council not putting up the whole lot of stuff during the offseason. I think they're going in this season pretty serious. Yeah, here's another one's got him, actually got him 15th. They got Lenora Sellers, number 1. Garrett Nussmeier, then DJ Lagway. Arch Manning, number 4. He may end up being number 1. We'll see. Mateer, there's Diego at 5.
No.
Interesting. And here's some practice numbers as far as completions. Joey Aguilar was 16 of 17. Jake Merklinger, 13 of 18. And George McIntyre, 13 of 15. So interesting. Here you can see him making a throw. And, of course, all these guys can spin it. You know, that's an easy throw for a Division I quarterback. Here's one.
Yeah, but looking at this, I look at quarterback footwork a lot. And his feet, like, he got dead feet, man.
Aguilar was 16 of 17. Jake Merklinger, 13 of 18. And George McIntyre.
And George McIntyre is my guy. I think he will ultimately be the guy for the future. I really like George McIntyre coming out of high school. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback for Tennessee or wherever he ends up playing. Transfer portal, anything can happen. But I'm taking George McIntyre for the long term.
13 of 15. So interesting. Here you can see him making a throw. And, of course, all these guys can spin it. You know, that's an easy throw for a Division I quarterback. Here's one to Mike Matthews. Again, that's a pretty easy throw for these guys. So there's a lot of talk about who will actually be starting, whether it's Jake Merklinger or Joey Aguilar. Probably Joey. You know, I'm 80-90% chance on that. The guy's got, this is his 5th year, folks. Now, he spent 2 years at a JUCO. I'm almost wondering if he gets done. If he has a good season, he might try to stay another year or two, exactly the way Diego Pavia did. Because if you play JUCO ball, based on that precedent in court, you can probably pick up another year or two in college because in JUCO you can't make any money. And that was the argument Diego Pavia said.
And you know, the crazy thing about that is, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. The crazy thing about that is, I tell all my players, man, anybody that listen, hey, man, exhaust all your eligibility because you never know what the NFL draft will hold. We saw Quinn Ewers go from one of the best quarterbacks in the country to a 6th-round pick. We saw Will Howard, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, to a 6th-round pick. If he would have stayed another year, they had another year. Quinn Ewers had another year. He could have made more money as a super senior at the college level than he would as a 6th-round pick. So, exhaust all the eligibility because you just never know where you may fall in the draft. And a lot of them boys had first, second, third round grades. They don't go in the 6th round. So it's crazy.
I would think a guy like Joey Aguilar can probably make a lot more money in college if he has a good year than he would necessarily in the NFL. Although that all depends on what he does. If he shows out here in this Tennessee offense, you might see him do something like that. Folks, this is the most encouraging thing going for Joey Aguilar. If you look at all the quarterbacks that Josh Heupel's had in the past, they've all had success, and a lot of them had serious success, all the way from Drew Lock to Mackenzie Milton, who actually ended up hurting his leg. He was great. That was at UCF. Then Dylan Gabriel, who's now in the NFL. Hendon Hooker, who's at Detroit now. He had great numbers. But look at all these numbers, 30 touchdowns, etc. Even Joe Milton, who really had a great arm, but his touch was not really there, had a lot of overthrows. He had good numbers. And, of course, even Nico Iamaleava, who was really, he did the same thing. He had so many open receivers for touchdowns that he just overthrew. He still had quality numbers, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Very similar to Joe Milton, which I believe his was 20-5. So Aguilar will probably have really solid numbers playing for Josh Heupel. His system eliminates a lot of turnovers, which was Joey's problem at Appalachian State. Plus, he was constantly behind. Appy State's defense was terrible, and he was having to play catch-up and really taking risks that you wouldn't take if you're in the lead.
But you can't put all that on the defense, because just like when that offense goes down the field and score on your defense, you get the ball too. So if you don't go back and answer, that's on you as well. So you can't put it all on the defense. And the defense could have been terrible. You know what I'm saying? The defense could have been terrible. That could be true. However, you can't just say, well, the defense was just bad. You get the ball too now. They give it to the other team. So you can go down and score. So if you're getting down multiple points, you are contributing to that. If you turn the football over, you are contributing to why your team is down. And solid number. I think Nico had solid number. He didn't have elite, great numbers. He had solid. I think elite. I think you start getting into the good category once you start breaking past 3,000 plus yards and 25 plus TDs, less than 7 interceptions on the season. I don't think anybody will ever come close to what Joe Burrow did with the 60 TDs and 6,000. How many yards he threw for? I don't think anybody ever go touch that again. But man, that's elite. So
when you're down 2 touchdowns, you've got to do what you got to do. And Appy State couldn't stop anybody. So I think that's what hurt his numbers a little bit in his second year. His first year was better. But the dude can sling it, and he's not afraid to throw it. That's one of the things we had with Nico. Nico was very gun shy. And, of course, he was a redshirt freshman, but he didn't play with a ton of confidence. I don't think that'll be a problem with Joey. He might have too much confidence. And, of course,
I ain't gonna lie, man. I'd rather have a quarterback that's a little bit more gun shy and protect the football than to have a guy that's just slinging it and throwing it all over the place. Arch Manning is kind of one of those guys. He just gripping it and ripping it, which it can work. It can work, but it can hurt you. It can hurt you. So it could lead to a lot more interceptions, a lot more turnovers, a lot more pick sixes. So you just got to be careful, man. I will link the full video in the description below so you can watch this. It's like a whole another 8 minutes of this video. If you want to watch it, I'll link it in the description below so you can finish that out without my commentary. Let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Send me your film, blindsidepro.com. If you got kids, I need them.